At Let's Tell Their Story, we'd like to advise that some content may contain rape, domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, child abduction, and murder. Not all content is suitable for all audiences. Please be advised while listening. Thank you.
Now.
Okay. So today I am doing the case of the cases are actually of Greg Turner and Randy Thompson. But first I have to go start with Julia Lynn Womack Turner. And she was known as Lynn. She went by her middle name because they all did that in the 60s and 70s. I don't know. In 1960s and 70s, not the 18s, as last week's. This is so weird when you're recording like this.
Yeah.
But Lynn was born July 1968 and was adopted by the Womack family pretty much right after she was born. And when Lynn was about 5 years old, her adopted mother, Helen Womack, and her adopted father divorced, but I could not get a name for her adopted father. And shortly after, Helen remarried a man named D.L. Gregory. Lynn and D.L. did not get along at all. As a teenager, Lynn suffered from substance abuse and eventually had to go to a clinic in Atlanta. That T throws you off because I want to see Atlanta for her drug abuse. And I gotta figure out where she was. All right, I can't remember. This is going to be a really choppy job of mine because my notes are not that great, and I was doing research at 2 o'clock this morning. So
that explains why you didn't sleep until
I've been doing this research all week, but I really went into it, deep dived into it at about 2 o'clock last night or this morning. So in the early 1990s, Lynn was a 911 operator for Cobb County in Georgia. She wanted to become a police officer, but she failed the psychological exam.
Psychology.
The psychological. That's hard. Words are hard.
At least for the one I'm doing, I know all the words for it.
Okay. Anyway, she failed the psychological exam. And it just now hit me on, yeah. Well, while she is a 911 dispatcher, she meets a man named Glenn Turner, who is actually Maurice Glenn Turner, who also went by his middle name. Man, I don't get this whole going by your middle name thing.
It's actually, that'd be weird for my little brother going by Miles. I was gonna say it would be weird for me, but then I realized my middle name is actually more common than my first name.
But then little brother's middle name is the only way I can remember one other kid's name whose name is Lane. That's how I remember this kid's name. It's because of your brother's middle name being like Miles. Anyway, so she meets Glenn at some party or whatnot. Glenn was known to be a ladies' man, but not the women would. He was never really in a serious relationship, but he'd always be friends with women until he meets Lynn at this party, and she's just head over heels for Glenn. And her Glenn's brother and sister described Glenn as a big teddy bear and just a good-hearted guy. I mean, even his co-worker Mike Archer said, "Great guy," and whatnot. So after 2 years of the two of them being together, he proposes and they get married in August of 1992. And shortly after they get married, Lynn stops, or she quits work. She leaves her job. But she is a spender. Like, she spends over what they're making. Glenn, being the man he was, went out and got a second job at a gas station along with his job as a motorcycle police officer in Cobb County, because he had a fascination about motorcycles, so he took his love of motorcycles and turned it into a career. And since Lynn was overspending beyond their means, he took on another job as a gas station to support both of them. Well, it didn't take long, and they started having problems in their marriage. And Glenn was not happy. Like, after they got married and like 9 months, he was complaining to his coworkers that they'd only been intimate twice since they got married. And which, yeah, I guess that's quite that, yeah. Anyway, and Lynn, not only with her overspending, but she got really controlling. And like to the point, like he couldn't have his nights out with his buddies anymore and whatnot. He just missed his single life and he wanted it back. And after 18 months of marriage, Glenn had made arrangements to get divorced and he was going to go and live with his dad. So the week prior to him going to move with his dad, he gets sick with flu-like symptoms. He's throwing up, he's running a fever, he's got the chills, he's got diarrhea.
There better be no lime jello.
I'm not saying anything. And so he eventually goes into the hospital and they treat him for dehydration and whatnot. Comes back home and he starts feeling a little better after he comes back from the hospital. Oh, the next day, Lynn, she's been home caring for him and whatnot, and she goes to run some errands because she hasn't done that. She comes back home and she finds Glenn has passed away. And she calls the family and she's like, not hysterical. However, they were in the process of getting divorced, so, and everybody grieves differently. Well, she calls and she calls Mike Archer and says, "Hey, Glenn passed away, wasn't feeling well." Oh, they do an autopsy on Glenn, and the autopsy says natural death and that he had died of an enlarged heart, and the flu-like symptoms made that enlarged heart just give out. So his autopsy says natural deaths, and it's alleged that on the way to the funeral, Lynn calls the insurance agency to inquire about a $153,000 life insurance policy, considering they are still married and she's the beneficiary. Well, she cuts all ties off to the Turner family. So and then she moves back to the town that she grew up in Forsyth County, where she begins seeing a man named Randy Thompson. Well, Randy Thompson, he was a chief deputy, but he had a passion to be a firefighter. And he, along with his father, decided to become voluntary firefighters for the town they're in. I could have wrote these towns down and I did not. But it's in the Forsyth County and oh, Warner Robins. That's where he was the firefighter at. And this whole time, so while she's seeing Randy Thompson, he's head over heels for Lynn, completely head over heels. And Lynn tells the Thompson family that she's divorced and that it was an ugly divorce and what she just needed a fresh start. Uh, Glenn, oh, Glenn passed on oh, March 3rd in 1995. And eventually, Lynn moves in with Randy Thompson. They buy a house together, and by the early 2000s, they had had a daughter and a son. And Randy had already had a child previous with a previous marriage. He was kind of down on his luck and he was just glad to have Lynn in his life. Well, eventually he's like, okay, I'm gonna make her an honest woman. He gets a ring and he proposes, but Lynn will not marry him, which everybody kind of found kind of odd. But when you look at it, she was getting a pension from Greg's death to being an officer. It didn't take long, and Randy and Lynn are having problems because Lynn's overspending and she's being controlling, and Randy's like, I want my life back. Well, it didn't take long, and he moves and he goes to a restaurant with Lynn and the kids, and the next day he starts having flu-like symptoms, vomiting, diarrhea, and whatnot. So he ends up going into the emergency room and gets an IV drip for dehydration, which probably was like a saline solution. You know, when I've been in dehydration, that's what they do with me. And he's just like stomach ache, just hurting so bad. Like, oh, he gets released on January 21st, and so sources that I've found and like the autopsy stuff the stomach contents don't add up. So I'm gonna go off of what adds up rather than the sources. Um, Lynn and Randy go to a restaurant. They have, well, obviously, like I just said, the next day so Lynn brings him some jello.
No.
Oh, you
No.
weren't, I knew you, I told you weren't gonna like me.
Just no. Now I was thinking it might have been this case. No.
Uh, but the stomach contents in Greg's autopsy was jello. So it's hard to, and then it's supposed that the stomach contents in Randy's were sweet tea. Well, she ends up calling and asking about his insurance because apparently in Georgia this was 6 years after Greg had passed away. It is Greg, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. She calls about the life insurance. Well, with all this Lynn's overspending and Randy having to move out, he lapsed on paying the premiums, so there was no life insurance for her. So eventually, the Thompson family has an autopsy done on him because Greg was 31 and Randy was 32, completely healthy men in their early 30s. Autopsy's done, and his autopsy says cardiac basically an enlarged heart. It's a really long word that starts with a D, and I'm not going to even try and say it. And dysrhythmia, cardiac dysrhythmia, brain, everything all together. Yay. Basically, heart. So, the Thompson family, they're 45 minutes north of the Turner family. They don't know the Turner family. The Turner family doesn't know the Thompson family. So the cardiac dysrhythmia, okay, it's just a natural death. The Thompson family doesn't think anything of it. However, Kathy Turner, Greg's mom, sees Randy's obituary and notices a common link. There's Lynn is in the common link here. So she reaches out to a reporter named Jane Hansen. And I thought this was going to be my short case. So she explains to Jane, and Jane looks at Jane's been a reporter for many. Why is my cat biting me? She's been a reporter for many years, so she's seen many autopsies. So Kathy and Greg's younger brother, James, go meet with Jane at the Big Chicken, the restaurant out in the open. And Jane's like, I don't really see anything that could make this a suspicion. So Kathy explains the whole thing with Randy Thompson, and Jane reaches out to the Thompson family, but it's only about 2 months after Randy Thompson has passed away. The Thompson family refuses to talk to Jane. About 8 to 10 months later, Jane gets a call from the Thompson attorney saying they're ready to talk. Mine's being a good boy.
Oh, I just rolled over her tail.
Oh, poor baby. And
She's fine.
So, like, yeah, he had something about crystal-like substance in his kidneys. Well, Jane reached out to autopsy friends, and she's like, hey, just out of curiosity, what would cause this? And he's like, well, ethylene glycol would cause a crystallization of the kidneys. All right. So she goes back to the Turner family and says, well, this is what this guy says, blah, 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 and whatnot. And so they still had a sample of Greg Turner's kidneys. They find identical crystal-like substances in his kidneys. To confirm, they need to do an exhumation of Greg's body. Well, Kathy Turner, the mother, had already come to terms with Greg's death. And she had asked, hey, if you guys are doing this, just make sure I'm not in town when you exhume the body. Fair enough. But the little brother, James, he watched on top of the hill as they were exhuming his brother's body. Oh, they do another autopsy. I don't know if it was they did samples on his organs. Everything came back identical to Randy Thompson. Oh, as this investigation's going on, Mike Archer, Glenn Turner's co-worker, he suspected Lynn of these deaths as soon as he found out about Randy's, because even though they're 45 minutes apart, firefighters, police officers, they're all going to have common buddies and whatnot. And I have my eyeliner. Okay. The sun's beating just right that it looks like I got a black eye, and I don't. Anyway, so Lynn could have almost gotten away with this, with her being a former 911 operator. She had told the her family before he passed that he was hallucinating and that he was trying to like fly off from what it looks like, their house looks like it's like one of those split levels that has a like a deck on the upper level, where like the downstairs wouldn't be considered a basement. It'd be more like a walkout basement kind of thing, that he was allegedly he wanted to fly off that. And with her former experience as a 911 operator, she was able to talk him down. Well, in both cases, blood tests had determined the ethylene glycol in both systems. Well, eventually the police discovered that before Glenn's death, Lynn had visited an animal shelter and inquired about how they euthanized their animals. And she wanted to buy the euthanization stuff. Well, the person there is like, we don't sell that, and we just call it the purple juice. With the crime scene photos in Glenn Turner's death, there was a photograph of the garage where there was a visible bottle of antifreeze. So after 10 months after Randy Thompson's death, she gets arrested for Glenn's murder. Now, the reason, okay, so Randy's death obviously was the most recent death. So you would think, okay, they're going to try and convict her of Randy's death first and then go back into Glenn's. Well, that wasn't going to work, because when Randy and Lynn started going downhill, Randy had taken trigger warning for suicide, but he had taken a bunch of prescription pills and then realized what he did and had called his dad and said, hey, I did something stupid. I just took a bunch of pills. And Randy's dad took him to the hospital. So with that, they knew that the defense was going to use that against the prosecution in Randy's death, but Glenn was squeaky clean, completely squeaky clean. So they figured, okay, we're going to use the better one, and she was legally married to Glenn. In the process of the trial, Turner family finds out that the dates don't add up, and 9 months into Glenn and Lynn's marriage, Lynn was seeing Randy Thompson. She was having an affair with Randy. So it's alleged that basically she wanted to get rid of Glenn, get the insurance money, and then move on to Randy until things weren't going her way. Okay, well, we're common law. He's got a life insurance policy. I'm beneficiary. Off with him too. In 2004, after the trial, she was found guilty of Glenn Turner's death, and she was convicted of prison, or convicted and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 14 years. Now, in 2007, she goes to trial for the murder of Randy Thompson, where the state contended that she poisoned both men with antifreeze in their food. One in lime jello and the other in sweet tea. Why does Quentin shake head? I explain this and why this case is bothering Quentin so much. Is he was probably, what, 9, 10 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you had been older than that. 12. You had to be about 12.
Yeah.
And my mother, his grandmother, was, and, well, I don't know if she still is, but I know she was really obsessed with the movies, or not movie, but the Oxygen show Snapped, which there's an episode of this on Snapped. Quentin thinks, oh, cool, a murder show. I'm going to watch this. Quentin will never, ever eat lime jello if it is not from the store, and he peels the lid off himself because he is scared to death he is going to be murdered by antifreeze that is put in somebody's lime jello.
Mm-hmm.
Is now guilt. This time, though, in the state of Georgia, they do have, at the time, I don't know if they still do not now, but they do have execution. And the jury were to decide whether she was going to have life in prison or if she was going to be executed. They decided to sentence her to life imprisonment without parole.
Yes.
They still do?
Yes, the most recent execution was 2022.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So, Turner... Okay. Lynn Turner, or Lynn Womack. I'm going to start calling... I know I'm almost done with the story, but I'm just going to call her Lynn Womack because of the fact it's not right to the Turner family to keep associating her name with them. She was serving out her sentence at the Metro State Prison. On August 30th, 2010, she was found dead in her prison cell. She had been stocking up her prescription for high blood pressure, and she overdosed on it. So she murdered by poison. She committed suicide by poison. And she will always be known as the antifreeze killer.
I'm saying
But tell me about these Wisconsin pyramids.
Yes, there is. Actually, I'm going to talk about one particular one, not the ones that most people actually know about in Wisconsin. This is a more hidden one. You're like, wait, there's more than one.
I know there's more than one, but I'm just kind of curious which one you're talking about.
So the one I am going to talk about is Rock Lake by Lake Mills. So this is
Never heard of this one.
this is near a little outside of Madison, going towards Milwaukee.
Yeah, I've never heard of this one. I thought you were going to talk about the one in Manitowoc.
Yep, that's the one I was saying I'm not going to talk about. That one's actually more known than this one. So,
yeah, I've never even heard of this one.
Yep, because the reason why this one has never really been told is because the one that you're talking about is actually on land. You can actually physically see it. This one is in the lake, so Rock Lake. Like, it's in the lake itself. So, beneath like its surface, there is there's like known as like a looking of a man-made pyramid under the lake. And so, and one of the things that it was built in but this is where it gets really interesting. So the Great Pyramids of Egypt were made in they were built between 26,000 and 25,000 BC. So this one,
it's not BC anymore. It's BCE because it's before Common Era.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's what I'm. So this, one of the popular legends suggests it was built in 1066, not BEC.
Oh,
AED.
no.
But so there during like when Wisconsin was facing a big drought during that time, the best way to see that is through some of our older trees in Wisconsin. It actually does line up pretty well during those few years. If you look at any trees that are over that old, you'll see their rings are actually thinner because of a drought. What?
I'm sorry, when you say lined up and trees in the same sentence, it's just funny that you're saying that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, the audience doesn't, so we might Quentin's got a thing, not just with lime jello. Quentin has the weirdest freaking I don't know how to put it.
Paranoia.
Paranoia. So he has this thing with trees that are perfectly lined. Even though they were probably set that way, but like if they're perfectly lined up, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my reactions, but it's like if trees that go like this and they're completely lined, and then there's another set and another set and another set and another set and another set. You can just kind of see right through them. Freaks Quentin out every single time.
Because it's creepy. So
okay, I won't walk my dog in the woods because I'm afraid I'm going to find a body. So I kind of get it.
So that time period actually ends up lining up really well because of our older trees. I actually remember this from like years ago when like so on a tree rings you can tell when there's a drought because they won't be as thick as like the years before or after.
Oh.
Yep. So it does line up as a drought did happen at that time period.
Interesting.
So, but then some people are then they it is also Rock Lake is also known as Torrentia, which means sparkling water. So divers and researchers have all looked into this the the stones that form on the lake bed. So it's not like it's on the lake bed. Like it is quite a ways into the lake too. Um like and some believe it might be remnants of the Mississippian cultures, which is a Native American group that most people don't know about.
You know, never mind.
Though
I'm
they're
just okay. I'm just trying to get us not getting in trouble for anything. But okay, so like I said before, indigenous, and I know that's a big word because it's tough, but Native American works.
yep, that's you saw I purposely did that. Um,
That's why you said it. That
yeah, they were
I
known
told you
for
words are hard.
they're known for to make a lot of those earthwork mounds that people have seen through the Midwest,
Okay.
um, including near Azaton State Park. I have no idea where that state park is, by the way.
I've never heard of it.
That and Azaton was established around 900 CE, so Common Era.
Yep.
So and then I don't have the actual I wasn't able to actually find the clip, but the there this diver said this is straight from his mouth. The first time I went down there, I couldn't believe my eyes. Massive stone structure, almost too precise to be natural formation. It makes you wonder about the history we haven't uncovered yet. This is straight from a diver that had dived into the lake to look at it. So, if you're wondering, underwater archaeology is in its infancy. To like, it's so in its infancy. Like it is, it's only been around for 5 years. Underwater
Oh,
archaeology.
wow. Then you and
Yes.
I might be onto something.
With what?
Our mermaids.
Forgot about the mermaid thing.
But conspiracies. We'll get to it sometime in the future.
So how? So there's many speculators arguing about that underworld. They are formed by natural rocks, but so are the Great Pyramids. They're made by limestone. Still natural stone.
Uh,
They're just not from stone around there. And if you know anything about like Wisconsin's thing, that area is known as the driftless area. So it's like very like the points can reach from the highest point in Wisconsin is 768 feet above sea level, called Tim's Hill, and some of the lower points gets down to negative 40 feet below sea level in Wisconsin.
I don't, you know the saying?
Hmm.
Anything south of 54 are they're flatlanders.
The reason that's the reason it's called a driftless area because the top of Wisconsin was hit by the glacier when it went through, so it's actually really flat up in the northern parts of Wisconsin. Like a lot
Hmm.
flatter than you would expect. You still see hills, but they're not as common
They're
down
not.
there.
Oh, it's like, so when I was younger, I had an aunt, your cousin, uh, that comes to Thanksgiving every year. I don't want to give out any names. But his mom, first time she went down to the La Crosse area, She looked at my uncle and goes, I've never seen mountains before. These are amazing. Here, they were just the bluffs.
So,
So that gives our idea of what you mean by there's hills on the northern side of Wisconsin, but not like they are on
the southern, especially
this
the
this
southwest. The south.
southern west. Yeah, the
So,
southwest because the southeast is pretty flat-ish.
nah, not really. Yeah, the lake is in the southeast. Still pretty hilly over there too, compared to north. So in like what she was just talking about, you also had one other person do the same thing to you. He's sleeping right now.
Oh yeah, my husband.
Yes. He said this. He didn't say the exact same thing. He's like, when I kept saying there were just bumps.
Oh no, I took him up to Granddad's Bluff, which is one of the
Very pretty sight, by the way.
it's a very pretty site in La Crosse, and he had a 2500 crew cab stick shift diesel truck, and I took him up this hill, and it's not just okay, I can call it a hill because it's a hill to me, but I took him up this bluff, and it's the road going up makes trail. It literally looks like you do not want you do not want to meet another car coming down. And he said that his truck went in gears that he didn't know it was possible to actually have to hit.
Here, I'm seeing if I can. Okay, yep. I'm seeing if I can pull up a photo of it. So,
Granddad's.
yeah. It's a lot harder to find. Okay. No, I didn't. I'm seeing if I can find a photo of So I found this is a black and white photo of Granddad's Bluffs, but this is how big this place is. This is just the top piece. I'm gonna see if I could. So here, that should give you an idea. That is quite far down.
It gives everybody else but me one.
Yeah.
I know what it looks like. So
yeah, I really don't have to show you. But so I will also say I have had experiences with that bluff too. As before I joined the military, we had one of the people. I don't think I told you this. We ended up.
Moms always find stuff out after they're 21.
So we were practicing just to because in California to become a Marine you have to climb a mountain, and that's no joke of a mountain, by the way. Let's just say the mountain in California was 10 times easier than what we decided to do at Granddad's Bluff. So if you know anything about hiking, you know how they have like green, red, blue, black hiking trails, like squares. We took a 2-diamond black route.
I don't know anything about trails on hiking because my feet don't do that.
So this is if you know,
but bring it to karate belt, and a black belt is like the biggest or the highest karate belt you can get. So I'm gonna assume that it's really bad, and I know those bluffs, so I have a pretty good idea what you were doing.
Oh yeah, let's just say we took a way that even our recruiters went like this was hell to them.
Wow.
What happened was one sprained their ankle, so I had to help carry him up there. So the mountain in California is basically like this. We were basically going up like this. Let's just say I like the mountain in California. So we're gonna go back to the pyramid, which is funny. So yeah, a lot believe that that it just happened because water. But if you know anything, the pyramids aren't actually a very common natural shape, is it?
No.
So, and people still don't know what is going on with that lake. Like it's the only way you would ever find out is if they drain the lake, which that lake is huge.
I just realized you're doing a Wisconsin pyramid, and the one in Manitowoc is actually a triangle.
Yeah, this is an
And yes, I know the shape is the same, but they're two different things.
yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't until the early 20th century is when it started becoming more people finally figuring it out. And so I may have been wrong. Yeah, so they actually, yeah, they think it was built by Mississippians on between 900 and 13 CE, but they're not 100% sure because you really can't tell. And there's been a lot of like looking through at it, but like I said before, underwater archaeology is in its infancy. Like it's very, very new. Like they're still finding things off of the coast of Greece and so Rome and all that stuff that's there that they still have not been able to find because
Oh, wow.
of how new it is. Yeah, so yeah, it's been inspiring. It does bring in a lot of tourism to Lake Mill area to find out more about the thing. And there's not much I can talk about that uh the pyramid since it's such in its infancy. It's just pretty much you can't even, so the thing is the lake is so dark you can't see it off of satellite photos. I've looking through it.
Wow, that is really dark.
Yeah. Or set
Which is kind of funny because your screen is really dark and I'm really bright. I can see you, but everything behind you is dark because I gave up on my stupid ass green screen. I got the dollies back. The dollies are back.
so creepy.
I know you don't like the dollies, but the dollies are back.
I don't
So
know
wait,
if
I don't have none out yet.
I don't know what's creepier, the dolls or that painting.
Painting with you guys.
I know it's a painting of us. It's still creepy.
Yeah, it's not the greatest painting, but it's not the worst either. I think it's just because you guys are all wearing the same clothes. I think if you guys would have all been wearing something different, it would have been different.
But yeah, so that's on the pyramid that most people don't actually know
One of the
about.
Wisconsin pyramids.
Yep, one of many.
Do you know about how many there are in Wisconsin?
Not off the top of my. Give me 2 seconds. If I can spell. There are about. It actually does not give me that. Oh, wow, that's really. Yeah, there's at least a quite. So the thing is, Wisconsin doesn't have like the pyramids that you would see in like Egypt or Mesopotamia. So they're more like like so that's what's really strange about this one is it's more like a Mesoamerican than it is like the normal ancient middle Mississippian village ones. Did you get an answer for that or no? Because I can't find. Because I found the
Okay, when it comes, no, from what I found, the one you're talking about is the only pyramid in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Okay, Wisconsin. Okay, it says, well, Wisconsin doesn't have pyramids in the Egyptian sense. It does have a significant archaeological site as Telan State Park with reconstructed flat top pyramidal mounds and a stockade representing an ancient Middle Mississippian village.
So here's this
So
not.
so
It's not the one I. This is the other. This is the one I was not talking about. I was talking about a totally different one.
oh, then we know about two of them.
Yes, there's at least two. And then you said there was. Oh no, that's a
At
shrine.
least two.
Yes. Yes. So.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, that's right, because you brought up that state park and said it was where the other one was.
Yes.
Okay. I need a nap.
Then we're. That's everything for.
Oh, so that. Do 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 do.
That is everything we have for you today.
So, if you guys know the whole spiel we're gonna give you, follow on Facebook, follow on Instagram, follow on Discord. If you have stories that you would like to submit, let's tell their story at
Gmail.com.
gmail.com. Oh my God. It's not email, it's Gmail.
I said Gmail.
If you wanna, if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit that little notification button,
Like.
wanna help us out, join the Patreon, and take it away, Quentin.
And the Patreon is at Let's Tell Their Story, I'm pretty sure. It's gonna be in the description. I will say that all the links are in the description. So
The links are, we're not always so good about the sources, which, okay, that's on me, but we try to get our sources out there as much as possible. But otherwise, you guys stay safe.
but keep curious.
Curious, you're not gonna get this
I
right.
said curious. I've said
Love you guys. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.